Goodbye and good riddance to Dr. Fauci. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. Yes, Anthony S. Fauci, MD, whose name has met official medicine in the United States for decades, has tendered his resignation. He was going to leave government service at the end of Joe Biden's term of office. Instead, he will leave all his government positions at the end of this year. Why he chose to leave government at least 2 years sooner than he planned, he's not telling. But his detractors are already speculating that he foresees new Republican chairmen of many House and maybe Senate committees hailing him before the green table. And they still might do that. Before we get into details, I do want to shout out to the prime sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views. Link in the description. Be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom of that link. Lots of great merchandise there, especially this t-shirt that I have chosen for today, which reads, "I need new conspiracies, as all the old ones came true." And that, as they indeed did, about Anthony S. Fauci, MD. Dr. Fauci first said barely a month ago, July 18th, that he hoped to leave government, quote, at the end of President Joe Biden's term, unquote. Now, whether that meant in 2024 or, as Biden's handlers might still hope, 2028, Politico Sarah Owermold didn't make clear. But she did make clear the impressions Dr. Fauci at least tried to give of his chagrin at not beating the virus that shall remain nameless. And that we may never beat it, but are in a steady state in that regard. Now, if you've played my Who Am I video, which I feature on my channel page, you know that I have a medical degree. I got it from Baylor College of Medicine, Houston, Texas in 1985. The disease, originally known as gay-related immune deficiency and now as acquired immune deficiency syndrome, exploded into the wider population shortly before my graduation. President Ronald W. Reagan appointed Dr. Fauci to head the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, the NIAID, in 1983. In medical school, we all had a saying. We mention this only to condemn it. In that spirit, I mentioned yesterday's puff piece by NPR as typical of mainstream media coverage. The author, Richard Harris, gushes over Dr. Fauci and excoriates Ronald Reagan, whom he seems to accuse of letting AIDS run rampant because he killed only those people. More to the point, Mr. Harris totally ignores the scandals that will always attach to Fauci's name. In contrast, Jose Gregorio Martinez, editor-in-chief of Pan Am Post, details 5 scandals that will dog Fauci's steps, resignation or no. And now I'm going to go over them one at a time. Most of these scandals, by the way, involve the virus that shall remain nameless. Now, to avoid my having to repeat that phrase, I'm going to call it Vitzern from now on, and you'll know what I'm talking about. First, Dr. Fauci couldn't seem to make up his mind where Vitzern came from. In April of 2020, President Donald Trump first floated the lab leak theory of the origin of Vitzern. Dr. Fauci denied it flatly in an interview with National Geographic in the next month. He kept promoting the wet market theory. According to it, some hapless civilian in Wuhan bought a live bat, brought it home, stewed it, ate the stew, fell ill, and became the reservoir of infection that struck the world with a disease that the United Nations was soon treating as if it were like the Black Death. Except that never once did any Diener team push meat wagons down the street, ring bells, and shout, "Bring out your dead!" or however one might say that in a language other than English. But little more than a year later, this same Dr. Fauci was telling Joe Scarborough at MSNBC that, quote, we need to keep an open mind to possibilities, unquote. Not only that, but he told Morning Joe that we might never know where that virus came from. Second, he had contact with Chinese officials and never told anyone, and that was only the half of it. In June of 2021, more than 3,200 emails to and from Dr. Fauci came to light. The leftist site BuzzFeed filed a Freedom of Information Act, or FOIA, request and got back a treasure trove. I've left a link in the description. The name at the top of the document cloud page is that of Jason Leopold, a private investigator. BuzzFeed covered this with a puff piece almost as bad as those by NPR and Political. But Pan Am Post hit Dr. Fauci hard on contradictory or at least changing prevention recommendations. Highlighting or lowlighting these recommendations were those regarding the wearing of face masks. Yeah. Now, at first, Dr. Fauci recommended masks only for those who were ill with the disease. Later, he was recommending masks for everybody, whether they were sick or well. Well, Mick Mulvaney yesterday pointed this out on Twitter. He recalls how Dr. Fauci, and again I quote, told me to go on TV at the onset of this virus and tell people not to wear masks. I hope Rand Paul gets a chance to dig deeper, unquote Mick Mulvaney. Well, Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky tweeting back told him, don't worry, I will. I have links in the description of both these tweets, but you need to remember, this wouldn't be the first time that experts in the medical profession and other professions got things wrong to the serious detriment of the population. Dr. Fauci wasn't the first, and he won't be the last, as Billy Joel reminded us a quarter century ago. And I'll leave a link in the description to his signature song, We Didn't Start the Fire. Third, and perhaps in line with his trying to quash the lab leak theory, Dr. Fauci denied on May 2021 ever having funding gain of function research on that virus. But in September of 2021, The Intercept had its own FOIA treasure trove. I've left a link in the description to that too. Those documents provide clear evidence that the National Institutes of Health did fund gain of function research on VITCERN. The Wuhan Institute of Virology, or WIV, carried out the research. Note, this virus broke out into the world's general population in the city of Wuhan. Project Veritas on January 10, 2022 received yet another treasure trove on this very subject. Actually, they got several. And I've left a link in the description to a landing page they maintain where you can find them. These treasure troves mention Echo Health Alliance, the grantee that funneled the funds to the WIV. Senator Paul questioned Dr. Fauci about this the day later, and also about his earlier perjury at the green table on the matter. And you know what Fauci did? He whined like a little baby, or a play yard bully after the yard monitors pull him off his victim. Don't just take my word for that. Watch the video of that exchange. I'll let the link in the description of that too. Now, that ends the scandals involving VITCERN. Dr. Fauci has two other scandals that go to his overall character. Before I get into them, I want to shout out to a sponsor who can really help you through the economic storms to come. Now, that sponsor is OurSilverLines.com. Do you feel like you're working harder for your money just to get by? You are not alone. The fluctuating economy, employment issues, unexpected changes in life have left many families struggling over the past few years. Collecting gold and silver can help shield you against many of these challenges. But if you're like me many years ago, you don't know how or where to start. Our Silver Lines helps by connecting you with thousands of members who are learning the secrets to creating and protecting true wealth by collecting precious metals. Whether you just want to collect rare and unique coins, or take advantage of the business opportunities that this company provides, they can help you learn to live an exceptional life. Visit oursilverlines.com to learn how you can build a legacy for your future. Now we get into the fourth scandal. What did he do to the puppies? At least 2 classes of experiments on beagle puppies have come to light. The details of these experiments, I have to warn you, are as disturbing as they are bizarre. I've left a link in the description to yet another treasure trove of documents from the White Coat Waste Project. They give you many of these details. Now, in one of the experiments, technicians injected puppies with cocaine to study their reactions to the drug. Now, the protocols for the other set, I don't want to talk about them. The Daily Caller has the details, and if you follow the link to the article, you can find in it the link to the Daily Caller's piece. I'll also leave a link in the description to a tweet from the White Coat Waste Project that gives you a bare outline of what those guys did in that other experiment, and it also gives you a graphic showing a dialogue, putting it all into perspective. Enough of that. Last but not least, Senor Martinez mentions experiments at the University of Pittsburgh on, well, let's just say what's left over when you end a pregnancy. And I'm not talking about the usual afterbirth, but I am talking about what you get when you end a pregnancy very late. The Federalist reviewed that story on October 13, 2021, after first reporting it on May 7th, 2021. Among other harsh practices, a panel from the Pennsylvania Family Council talked about the late pregnancy endings and an allegation of race quotas and race targeting. In fact, a retired judge may ask this pointed question, I quote, "How can the University of Pittsburgh justify working with Planned Parenthood and the entire pregnancy ending industry at any level? They owe their very existence to racism and Margaret Sanger," unquote. Judge Cheryl Allen, retired. I've left a link in the description to a tweet containing the quote and Judge Allen's picture. Also, the panelists describing the experiment suggested that they might violate Pennsylvania law. They then seemed to want to skin Dr. Fauci alive over his defense of experiments like that in May of 2021. I have a link in the description to a video of Dr. Fauci defending the experiments. Fauci said then that all appropriate guidelines and oversight were in place. Well, the panelist disputes that, and he shows pictures from the study involved. Now, I am not going to leave a link to that in the description. I refuse to. I can't even talk about it. It's just too much. It does remind me, though, of a certain H.G. Wells novel that got turned into a movie. 2 movies, one in 1977 and another one in 1996. Maybe you remember the title, The Island of Dr. Moreau. Well, Dr. Moreau Fauci is on his way out, and he's making a hasty exit. Yes, I said hasty, because he's leaving 2 years ahead of time, or maybe 6 years ahead of time, by his thinking. Reaction varies from hate to see you go to good riddance to bad rubbish. The mainstream media gives the hate to see you go reaction. Now for the jubilation, I have links in the description to 7 tweets from 1 United States Senator, that's Rand Paul, 1 United States Representative, that's Lauren Boebert of Colorado, 1 House candidate, that's Anthony Sabatini from Florida, and also from some journalists and amateur journalists. They speak of the toll of Vitzern on long-term care homes after certain governors, well, you remember that it got Andrew Cuomo removed as governor of New York State on impeachment, no less. Dr. Fauci, despite pretending to be the chief of all chiefs of staff of all hospitals, never uttered a word of warning or even protest. These tweets also include a picture of rats, Fauci among them, deserting a sinking ship, Jack Posobiec recommending seizing his passport after the FBI did that to President Trump, and Senator Paul and Representative Bieber both promising or threatening investigations of Fauci, resignation or no, and a charge that Dr. Fauci was wrong about everything since the AIDS epidemic. And then Mr. Sabatini, he wants to send Dr. Fauci to prison. Investigations will take place in the House and very likely in the Senate. Don't believe the polls. Even Eric Woods Erickson tells us that August polls notoriously predict Democratic victories that either don't happen at all, or if they do, they're a lot narrower than polls predicted. Which means the Republicans are going to take the House, might take the Senate, definitely will call Anthony S. Fauci to sit at the green table. And his next session at that table will surpass all the others that have come before. Link in the description of the article, to the Mick Mulvaney and Rand Paul Twitter exchange, to Billy Joel singing "We Didn't Start the Fire," to those 4 treasure troves I mentioned, to the video of Dr. Fauci squirming, and worse, at the green table with Senator Paul, to that White Coat Waste Project tweet about the puppies, to Judge Cheryl Allen talking about Planned Parenthood and the University of Pittsburgh, to Dr. Fauci defending the appropriations for the experiments they talked about at that same institution, to those 7 good riddance tweets, and to Conservative News and Views. I've also left links to the awesome CNAV Store and to oursilverlines.com, as I also mentioned. And if you like what you've heard, you can like this video. And on the end screen, I'm going to leave a subscribe link and also links to all 3 of these other videos that I mentioned. This is Terry A. Hurlbut delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.